Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 15th of November, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at the dollar, and it's really sinking low. We had big falls yesterday and further falls this morning, so that weakness really showing through. See how the lagging line has really sort of found resistance here on the cloud. So the dollar falling away again and coming right back to test the cloud from above on the price. So we may well see some support being found here. Again, just playing in the cloud at the moment, and that may ultimately lead to a bounce out of the cloud, but for the moment it's a very bearish picture on the short term. No clear downside targets on either the short or medium term charts, and the long term chart not activated, so really hard to call. But at the moment the dollar is looking pretty bearish. Euro is then of course looking bullish against the dollar, and we're seeing that here. Eurodollar looking very strong indeed, bouncing off the cloud, finding support here. So this will be the key. Can it continue and make levels higher than we saw in September? Can we make a higher high, basically? If we look at the Japanese yen, dollar sinking lower here as well, and still maintaining its bullish position, medium and long term, but the short term chart is very bearish indeed. Negating one of those targets, you might remember we had 4 of those yesterday. We had a thrust on this column that's been taken off. Targets being negated is normally upside targets being negated is normally bearish, but we still do have a few in train. So we may just come back and find support and still have these targets active. But for the moment, dollar looking bearish. Sterling is actually also looking quite bearish against the dollar as well. And if we look at against the euro, we're really sinking lower here. 107 is the target now, and that's 3% away. But 111 this morning, sterling falling away quite heavily. And the Swiss franc, we're seeing sterling a little weaker there against the Aussie. Aussie dollar is actually falling more sharply than sterling, which is why we're seeing sterling rising against the dollar at the moment. US stock market fell off slightly last night, so we are just seeing a little bit of a bearish pattern there, but still bullish on the all chart time frames. The same with the Nasdaq. We're bullish on all 3 time frames here as well. The Dow Jones just starting to wander through on the cloud, starting to look a little bit more bearish, and the Russell 2000 is actually bearish below the cloud as well. So we are just seeing that playing through. The S&P future is bearish below the cloud, and the Nasdaq E-mini also looking bearish below the cloud. The FTSE 100 sinking lower again this morning, so we are just seeing that really coming back now, back at below 7,400. So we are just seeing quite a big sell-off that's just showing up here on the chart. This will give us a downside thrust target, but for the moment we don't have any clear downside targets, and we are just coming into medium-term bearish territory as well. FTSE 250 we're seeing here looking very bearish too, and we do have a downside target of 6% activated, although there is support there. So just looking tricky for stocks at the moment. The DAX also looking bearish. Nikkei actually now coming below the cloud on the short-term chart. Hang Seng holding up above the cloud, and the Shanghai market also just holding on, although it is down 0.8% overnight. The Indian market looking bearish below the cloud, just pulling back. We've got a downside target of about 2.5%, and the Australian market also just starting to come off, not quite yet bearish through the cloud, but starting to look that way. Brent crude falling away. We said yesterday it was turning bearish below the cloud. We're now at $61.70, so we are seeing just a short-term sell-off there. No clear downside targets on the chart, so the one that we have got has been exceeded, which is bearish, but we don't have any new targets at the moment. And if we see on the WTI, we again are bearish below the cloud as well. US Natgas falling back to $3.09, so we are just seeing here bearish below the cloud there too. And copper, quite a good proxy for what's happening in the world economy. We are seeing here copper is bearish as well, just falling away at the moment, and a downside target of 4.8%. Taking a look at gold. Gold rising on a falling dollar has turned bullish, so we're into back into bullish territory on the short term, finding support on the medium term chart, so still looking pretty good for gold. And we've got a new upside target of 1309, that's 2% upside, and certainly if we got to that level, back above the 1300 level, gold would be in a much better place. We haven't activated this downside target on the medium term chart, so it's all to play for really. get back above that 1300 level, and gold starts to look good again. Silver, similarly, back above the cloud, upside targets of 1.6 and 6%, so looking good there as well. US Treasury yields falling away, back fell quite substantially yesterday on that, the dollar falling away, off nearly 10 points from the low 240s to the low 230s now, so quite a significant fall there yesterday. Apple was down 1.5%, but still bullish above the cloud. Google holding its position in bullish mode. Amazon also holding its position. Facebook just starting to wander below the cloud, looking a little bit more bearish, down 0.4% overnight. And Microsoft holding on there, was up slightly in a weaker market. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.